Welcome on in, everybody. It's another episode of the Common Language Podcast, and you know what time it is. It's Jingle Hour. Go for it.
3, 2, 1. Common language in the
morning.
We
Wonderful.
did it.
I think
We
so.
did it.
Always. I don't think we've missed a beat now, so we're on par with it. But welcome on in. If you are joining us live, you are a channel member of Ashen Wings TCG, and I really appreciate you for supporting my channel in the way that you do. If you're watching the VOD, right, and you're just kind of checking us out while I post this live on my, or well, not live on my channel, but on my channel, appreciate you checking it out. Hopefully, you've checked out some other episodes as well of the Common Language Podcast. We have plenty of them out, so certainly a lot to look through. But today we're kind of getting into the topic of the big news of this week's recent ProQuest results. But before we get into that, Nathan, anything you've done in the flesh and blood recently?
So I was going to say, I have more on the topic because I judged a ProQuest.
That's right.
I was going to say you should go first because then I can talk about judging.
All right.
And then it'll go right into our topic.
Perfect. Yeah, that works. Not too much on my end here. Effectively, we went to last week. I went to a Silver Age armory at a store about like 45 minutes south of here, and hung out with a lot of the crew down there. It was a really great time. I went 0-3 on Briar. Don't know what happened, but let me tell you, my first round opponent was against a Bravo, not flattering showman, just Bravo. And I went, all right, cool, surely, right? This is something that just treat it like any other Guardian. We'll be in a different space. I don't know. I realized in that moment I had never really read Bravo's hero text, because Bravo's hero text says you pay 2, and for the rest of the turn, everything that costs 3 gets dominate. So Outmuscle is a card that can be played.
Wait, what?
Yeah. So
have I not read this?
It's insane. That's what I'm saying. And it's because every single time I've played into it, it's always been just one attack, right? You're pitching the resources you have in your hand at a tuna counter to give something dominate, right? Because you're trying to get a little bit over. And lo and behold, turns out that's everything for the entirety of the turn. So you have cards like Outmuscle, which cost 3 and get go again if they're not blocked by anything that equals its power or greater. So you can play Outmuscle with Dominate, give it go again, and then play a Boulder Drop with Dominate, all from the same Bravo ability.
That's still a 5-card hand, though, right?
I mean, yeah, but that's like it doesn't equal out very well, but like it is certainly a lot of evasive damage that I was not expecting. But I got
because if you just block a lot, set that up, and then just go boom, you turn the tide.
Yeah, it was pretty insane, but we ended up not getting there. But it's okay. I had a fun time hanging out with everybody, and I realized that Briar is still very good. It's just a lot of what we're doing in Silver Age is kind of, did you get tempo? No. Okay, cool. Like, try your darndest, and hopefully your opponent doesn't keep that. But all my opponents were. I mean, what's what happens. So, and the decks can fail, right? Like, exactly right. That's entirely it, right? Like, you don't have. That's why we don't have 8 Briars in the top 8. You know what I mean? Is like the deck can fail. The deck can just not get tempo back, and that's why we're in that scenario. But it was a lot of fun. I got to go do that, and then we ran our casual night, our very first learn to play night that we did. We got a couple people in there who were new. One of the people was an employee of the store, and then another individual was just a new player who wanted to come out and try out the game. And that was super awesome, right? We had a whole bunch of stuff available for everybody to play with and check out. And, I brought all my Sage decks for people to play around with if they wanted to do that. But right now we're running into some logistics concerns with that place, because Saturday night when we run our casual night is also the same night when we run, or when the store runs Casual Commander. And Casual Commander brings in I don't know, 40 plus people, and we bring in maybe 8 at most. And it's fine, but the issue is that most of the tables are taken up by casual commander players. But really, that's not true. Most of them are taken up by casual commander players, and then 10 seats are taken up by their respective backpacks. So
Right.
we definitely have space, but the store manager does not want to interfere with casual commander night and running a secondary event on the same night as well. So we may be moving our casual nights to Sundays. That way we can still run those. Because if we do Sundays like in the middle of the day, like at 2:00 or something, it's not bad. So that might be what we end up having to do. But that's all just depending on what the logistics of the store is and what they're planning on doing. But other than that, I went to my regular classic constructed armory on Monday. I brought Jarl. I'm trying out Jarl.
I watched your video on that.
I wish I was playing Fatigue. I feel like I've realized more and more I'm far more comfortable playing a Fatigue game than I am playing an aggro game, because I feel like I switched over my list from a more Fatigue based Jarl to an ice aggro Jarl, which is something that a lot of Jarls are doing. It seems to be the subjective thing to do when you're Jarl, because you're sending the larger points of damage at your opponent and you're giving them frostbites on hit or on play of ice cards. So in most cases, you're taxing your opponent on offense, which is oftentimes better, especially into other aggro decks and even into other Fatigue decks, because you're sending more damage than what they were expecting to if you're playing into Fatigue. And then, of course, you're sending a ton of damage into your aggro opponent and then taxing them several times with all the on hits you have, which tend to be enough to really push the tide. But I went 1-2 yesterday on my ice aggro list. I feel like it just maybe wasn't tuned well enough. Maybe I wasn't familiar with things. My first match was into a Prism, and I felt pretty good going into Prism, but I realized that my beatdown strategy just does not work the same. I wanted to, at the beginning of the game, my base instinct was to just clear auras, keep everything going, and then eventually kill them, because that's how you beat Prism, especially if you're going to get looped. I had Midas touches and everything for if I was ever to be looped. So I'm like, perfect, this will work out in our favor, totally fine. Proceeded to not do that. Proceeded to instead just see the 10 dominate in my hand and go, okay, cool, send this thing. And I don't know what happened. I got them down to 4. I had full tempo. I was swinging everything, but they were able to set up library on turn 0. So I kind of like can't do too much into that, unfortunately. So I'm just kind of sitting here going, okay, well, we're pushing through.
There's this card that destroys landmarks.
Listen, and I'll think about it too, because that's the thing, is that normally that's my issue, is that, and I swear to God, I don't know whether or not this is like it for everybody else, but I love Prism. I love how she plays. I love everything about her, but she's not a popular hero right now in the meta for some people. But for some reason, Colorado's full of them. They're freaking everywhere. And so I'm like,
sideboard it just for your local.
I have to be ready for it. And like, we got the person that I played against round 1 is a brand new Prism player. Like, they were initially on Acilio, deemed Acilio was too overpowered for the meta and wanted something a bit more like mind tasking, and went, oh, let's play Prism instead. And I'm like, that's awesome. But now I have another Prism I have to worry about. So now it's like 4 to 5 Prisms I can meet locally, and that's exactly what ruined my run with Huntsman. So I'm like, all right, I need to figure this out, because I know it's winnable. It's just like, you have to have patience and you have to like see your stuff well enough. But it's it's just an insane thing to see. And so
it's just stupid.
But it was it was not bad though. But yeah, I went 1-2. I just don't like the amount of 2 blocks that are in ice aggro, and it just feels
I
bad.
agree with that.
But I guess that's the mindset. Maybe that's just my mindset of being like, well, obviously
because they're used
2
to
blocks.
having 3 blocks on everything.
Yeah, I'm used to having 3 blocks. I'm used to being able to pivot to block, and like, I can't really do that when like 12 of my cards are 2 blocks, because that's not anything I can just pivot out to a bunch of 3 blocks and 4 blocks. So I don't know. I have to do more testing with it to see what I actually like. I think Ice Aggro Jarl is still very
Oh, here you
good
go.
into the mirror, but
I'll just mail that to you just
yeah,
to make fun
exactly.
of you.
Oh, trust me, I've got plenty of copies,
I was gonna say I know you have plenty, but I'll just
there's
mail that one
there's
copy
a
I have to you.
there's a word. I mean, because that's the thing, right? I don't want to put one tech card in my deck to be, because I already have 3 Midas Touch in my deck. I don't need one more tech card for Prism just to be like, all right, like,
But you can resack it and get gold. Like, listen, I understand that, but like, what's more fun than just saying, "Boom, goodbye, library. Here's all my gold."
yeah, very true. I mean, very true. It's certainly at least get something back, but I don't know. We'll see if
I
that
just
ends up
think it's funny.
actually. We'll see if that ends up actually being something that I'm like thinking about, because like, I mean, turn zero library doesn't happen. I've only ever seen
Yeah,
that
it
like
doesn't happen
twice.
very often.
And so I'm just like, sure, whatever. But when it happens, it's kind of like backbreaking. So,
And plus, your
you know,
ice, so like gold, mine gold. You pitch some ice cards, you draw some cards, whatever. Like you're
yeah,
heavy blue.
that's the thing. Like heavy blue, I'm trying to figure out if it wants to be like, I just don't know where it sits, because like ice
Just take out one of your
aggro,
Midas touches.
yeah. I mean, ice aggro just sounds like it's it should be doing very well, and like the taxing is pretty important. I even destroyed my opponent's vestige of soul. I got that thing out, and I was like, sick. Well, you don't have extra resources, and I'm going to continue to tax you. But it just did not matter. 5 cards in hand. I could not get around library. I kept things. I think I kept like a passing barrage around far too long than it should have,
Yeah,
and
probably.
it cost me a lot. So I was like, all right, whatever. Like
Yeah.
this is just what it is. But it was not bad. It was, I mean, it was a fun time.
Are
I
you
think I just need to
you're running
prepare.
Shield Breaker, right?
So I don't have Shield Breaker in paper. I was running Shield Breaker in the game that I posted on my
You need a
channel.
Shield Breaker and paper.
I can get one.
To open one.
I can get one in paper. I'm not. That's the thing, is I'm kind of him and hawing about Shield Breaker and Jarl, just because
Yeah,
Titan's Fist is just so good. Like
I know. Yeah, Shield
being
Breaker, like I see it and I'm like, okay, this makes sense. But like Titan's Fist is so good.
Titan Fist is
Like it's
so
just
good,
so
and
good.
like if I'm gonna be replacing any weapon, it'll be replacing the sledge. But I still think sledge is what wins you into the Guardian Mirror. So
Right.
I don't know, like, but also on the other note, right? You could send, you could play a Rampart and a Shield Beater and probably do better into the mirror, right, or into a
Yeah.
Guardian Mirror. So I don't know. There's a lot of things to keep in mind, because I know there's a lot of Guardian players out here too. So I'm trying to figure out kind of what my meta is going to end up being. I still know there are going to be people on Verdance, there are going to be people on Gravy, there are going to be people on Dio, and so that was my other loss of the night, was a Dio, because I've had a bunch of fucking 2 blocks in my deck and I can't pivot to be like, oh cool, of course I'll just block out your whole deck and
Yeah,
you'll
no,
die.
when you go ice, like you're heavily reliant on ice itself to open up the game for you to make it hard
Yes.
for them. And if they get through it, you're just like,
Yep.
crap.
Yep. Pretty much. So it is what it is, but that's still going to need a lot more testing. But that's what friends are
Yeah.
for, and I'm going to hope to get some testing done locally and speak to a bunch of our local players and see if we can just get some games in. But
Yeah, I think you're out. And there's something with paper. So I'm going to talk about real quick. So we did a casual night or Monday night, but because we didn't do an armory on Saturday, we had a ProQuest. We did
right,
technically the armory last night just so that we can, get it in, right? Because
right,
that's what LSS is looking at. So we did it, but on our casual night, we've had like a consistent 4 people. We have like 6 people or so, but it's been like, rotating. You know how it is. It's
right.
like a couple of you are consistent, and then there's like 1 or 2 people that kind of rotate through. Last night, because of the ProQuest, last night we had 8 people coming in just to play Sage. Coming in just to, there was a couple people that saw it and checked it out on
Mhm.
Saturday, and a couple of them showed up. And they had, the precons. Once again, the precons are doing work.
Yep.
They did well. They did 1 and 2 on a KO, brand new player, like within the past couple of weeks.
There you go.
I went 1 and 2 on Lexi. I did not have. I just absolutely rectify, and then a friend of mine was trying out DGA, and DGA is just like, when my cards line up, they line up great.
Mhm.
When they don't, just miserable.
Yep,
If I can't get
exactly.
like 3 snapshots in there to like hold them down, I seriously went like 3 turns before I did any damage.
Oh my god.
And I was like, well, and I did end up losing at the end. I thought there was an overpower, but I didn't block. I blocked with my equipment, and he still got the overpower in like just enough. And I was like, oh, but fault was on me because I was pseudo pitch stacking, but I lost count of where my stuff was.
Okay.
And so I like didn't. I had like one more hand. I was like, I don't think I have anything in this hand, so like I have to hold my hand. I did add my power stuff in that hand, so I was like, if I had blocked out, maybe I could have won.
Right.
I was, and then I lost to Flowman, and that was once again I didn't block out correctly because with Lexi you don't block, but like when you
Right.
get forced into that, you have to. And it was a pummel turn. I wasn't paying attention to the fact that it was a pummel turn, and he pummeled me. I was like, "Damn it!"
That's it. You never expect it until it happens. So,
well, it was like evident. He was like, or they were like, she was like, "I have 3 cards." How is this not a pummel turn? I was like, I know.
It's gotta be a pummel.
Say it like that, when you say it like that, but like it's 9 o'clock. Like I'm not.
Right.
I'm not
trying to sit here. I'm not trying to sit here and go, of course, obviously the pummel. It's just like, yeah, no, if you have it, whatever, like we can go.
Yeah, when she was like, obviously it was a pummel turn, I was like, no, you're right. It obviously was a pummel turn when I'm looking at it.
Right.
But no, it was good. Like it was people just, showing up and trying out the game and trying out their precons and wanting to play casually. So
Perfect.
trying to make sure that it's hopeful, right? Like, hey, like that's awesome because there's, like I said, there's been about 5 of us kind of rotating through, 5 or 6 of us, where we get a consistent 4-person. So we'll see if Sage really makes a difference. I think it will.
Yeah.
And then if we used to get on Monday nights, we used to get like 8 people for draft, and then we had a handful of people move away and stuff like that. So like we'd have a casual night and get 8 people. So like we've had like groups of 8 in there. So it's just been like a year and a half since we've had like a consistent group of 8 coming. So, but it was nice to have those numbers again, and a lot of fun. People testing out stuff, trying out things, and whatever. I have a new deck I need to make. So like as an NUU, not new.
Oh,
like,
a new deck.
I have a new deck. Someone I was playing in Talishar took Taotao's list and kind of made it more aggressive against Briar. So I'm gonna build that, add it to my battle box because you gotta have one of each class.
Yep, that's true. That's true.
So we're doing good. But Saturday I judged a ProQuest.
Yes.
So Briar ended up winning. Would you like to know who the final 2 people were? This is
Briar.
When you want to talk about no players, the names of the players.
Oh,
if you want to talk about tryhard showing up at your locals.
Oh no! Did you have the Brody Spurlock snipe?
No, we had these 2 people show up a decent amount. We had Nathan Crawford versus Josh Lau.
Oh, that's right. They are local to that area.
Because they're a couple hours from us.
Right.
So they've won a decent amount of ProQuest and Road to Nats.
Just a card guys final.
They just show up. I'm like, all right. We have some locals that are really good though. So but one of the owners actually of the shop, he's good, but he had I think he went against Nathan Crawford, who was on Kano, and that game Kano just didn't play out. You know how it is. It's just like sometimes Kano just falls.
Yep.
There's a lot of times where they win, but there's sometimes they just fall.
Yeah.
But at the beginning of this was a highlight, and not to say that wasn't a highlight, but I was getting ready, and a guy came up and he's like, "Hey, you Nathaniel?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "From Bulletproof Games?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Hey, I'm Sir Rabbit." I was like, "Hey,
that's cool."
He's like, "I came in and they were like, oh, our judges, Nathaniel, he was heavily involved in the clash scene." He's like, "Wait a second."
That's so funny. That's so funny. I love doing that.
Like, I didn't think you.
I just had 2 people in our Colorado Discord recently post, because I made a post like a response to somebody, and people were just like, "Wait a minute, are you local to Colorado?" And I'm like, "Yeah." Like, "Oh, dude, I watched your entire Sage A to Z series. It was amazing." And I'm like, "Oh, that's cool."
But yeah, so he drove up from, I think it was Jacksonville, if I remember correctly. But he's like, I didn't think you live in Florida. It's like, technically I don't. I live an hour away, but like,
Exactly, right.
this is where I come to
Mm-hmm.
play. Number one, it's the most closest one that I can think of. Well, actually, there's one that just opened up that's a little bit closer. But number two,
Mm-hmm.
it's friends of mine that own it. I'm not gonna not come here.
Right.
Um, so like that was funny. But yeah, so it was fun. Alexi did get the one Lexi that was there did get in the top four, and then
Nice.
lost to Josh Lau. So
What was
we had
the
one local.
what was the turnout?
So we only had 17 players,
Okay.
which is a lot lower than what we were expecting. Normally we have around a little over 20
Right.
is pretty typical in our area, especially because there's nothing real around. I think the last one we had like was 24 or 26 players,
Right.
the last ProQuest. But this one was only 17. But the meta was super, super wide. I know we're going to talk about the
Mm-hmm.
meta, so let's talk about the meta. The meta was super wide. I know, like, I was looking at the graphic that they put out, and obviously Briar big, on
Big
there.
number.
Um, but we had only 17 people. We had 3 people on Briar. I think we had 2 Enigma or 3 Enigmas. I think we had 3 Enigmas.
Mm-hmm.
Someone took a picture of it. I know we had like Alexi. Obviously, Josh Lau was on DGA Dory. I think
Right.
he's the only DGA one. We had a Scurv because why not?
Uh-huh.
Like, there's a lot of stuff like that. We had a couple KOs. So like kind of the meta that you see. I know Briar was the most in there, but it was 3 people out of 17, and then there was a lot of different. And it wasn't even. It was just people literally playing like, "Hey, this is what I'm comfortable on and what I like."
Uh-huh.
That's what it was. It wasn't just like it wasn't people trying to come in and, you know, play the meta and do all that. It was, hey, like our Scurv player. I was talking to him. He's a local, and he was like, "Yeah, I just like playing Scurv. Like, I enjoy Scurv, and I wanted to play Scurv because not because it's good, but because it's like my favorite hero, and I don't get to play in CC."
Right.
It's like that's totally fair.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not gonna argue with that. Our Lexi player next, so we have this like this fun rivalry. There's a LGS and NOLA, New
Uh-huh.
Orleans for people not around here, and NOLA that they so a lot of us go back and forth. I don't go because I usually judge, and then the next weekend they do theirs. So we always coordinate to make sure our pro quests are on separate weekends.
Mm-hmm.
So we have like a kind of a fake rivalry between our LGSs. They show up at our events, we show up at their events.
I mean, that's
It's
kind of
lots
the
of
same
fun.
thing we do with Wyoming. That's actually where the Silver Age ProQuest is this weekend that I'm going to. And I mean, I think I felt so bad the last time first time ever going up to Wyoming, first and foremost, and also first time at the store. And I go in there. It's for a classic constructed RTN that's happened. I think it's an RTN. No, yeah, it is an RT. Yeah, it is an RTN.
Hmm.
Um, I go up there, I play, and it is like we get in there, and we're one of the earliest people there, but a lot of people from Colorado always tend to like migrate up there because
Yeah.
it's just kind of within the area that we can make the time work. And so
Yep.
it ended up being this thing where we walked in, we saw some other locals to Wyoming there, and then the rest of the folks from Colorado started streaming into this place, right? And it was like all of us just yapping and talking and everything. It was maybe like 6 people there from the Wyoming scene. And it was I felt so bad because the last time I was up there was way more people from Colorado than there were in Wyoming. And some guy actually just got so upset because he was like, I guess he thought he was gonna like try and spike the event, right? Because he was like, surely there's not gonna be a lot of people that are gonna show up to this thing. And then like 40 people walk in the door, and he's like, oh, well, I'm going home. I can't spike this anymore. And so he left. And I was like, what are you doing? But our Sage PQ is this weekend up in Wyoming, and that's kind of the same deal. It's like we go up to
Yep.
Wyoming, we go play around up there. People from Wyoming come down to our place. We have a lot of people from Utah that come down to Colorado and play in our LGSs and our RTNs and PQs, and they do really well. So Utah's got a pretty crazy scene from what I can tell. So
Yeah. So it was like that. But yeah, I like one of our players, like the last pro, or I think it was Road to Nats. They went and he won on Fang over there. Like, so we just, so we're like, dang it, we didn't have a local even get to top. It's
Exactly.
the couple guys get into it.
I mean,
But
hey,
like we have good enough players that can take them on in a smaller event like that.
yeah,
Especially with Sage, right? Like it's always just kind of based off of what are your draws the first few ones.
right.
We just wasn't our day, so it was them. I still have to say that one of my favorite, I think it was a Road to Nats. This was several years ago. Josh Lau came. This was in when I actually had a local place like 20 minutes ago. And the semifinals match was Josh Lau on Bolton, and the
Uh-huh.
other guy was on Kano, and he didn't have any AB because this is several years ago when
Right.
Bolton was so. He ended up winning it, but it was the spikiest matchup. I think it was like 3 or 4 turns of just them back and forth, just Anyways, it
Ooh.
was so much fun to watch. I actually have it recorded. I still have it
Just
recorded.
like
At
you
some
watch
point, I
you
need to
you
release
watch it
it.
back every now and again. You're like, yeah, that was a sick game.
That was so fun. I think it was only like maybe 20 minutes tops, and this is CC, so
Right.
you go like that.
Oh, for
It
sure.
was so fun, and I was like, at some point, I might like show this. I don't know, or I'll just hang on to it and see it because like at this point, it's not relevant anymore, right?
Right.
Like there's been so many Bolton cards since then, but it was just like so fun to watch like these two good players go at it.
I mean,
But yeah,
that's kind of a fun thing too. Also, I'm not sure if I've ever told you, but where you eventually could run into Joshua Lau, we in Colorado actually have his brother, Michael Lau. Yeah. So Michael Lau is a local to Colorado, a big prison player, like super good prison player. And it's super funny because like I just every time I'm just like, yeah, I gotta remember that like that is like not that I'm like, oh, I'm so scared of him because he's Josh Lau's brother, but like Michael Lau's a fantastic player and like super nice and is
Yep.
always willing to teach people. Like I cannot tell you how many times people have sat down across from him and he's gone, have you played into prison before? And they go, no. And he goes, all right, I'm going to tell you everything that's going to be happening here. Just a heads up. Like if you have any questions, tell me. It's wonderful. But it is kind of funny because like Michael Lau doesn't do content. And so when everybody knows Josh Lau because Josh Lau is doing content and everything,
Yep.
but we actually have his brother, Michael Lau, which is kind of funny. So
that's funny. But yeah, so it was fun. We had one local. This was funny. So we got this one local. His name's Apple. That's his last name. Anyways, he came in as Briar. He used to play, and then he's like, and then he came in as Briar, and then he played it, and then he was like, "How do I beat DGA?" So I sat down with him and played a few games, like in the top 8. Because we had 2 judges, so I was just I was a floor judge,
right.
and we had a head judge, Valerie. She was like, "Hey, why don't we judge together? Because I just want to see you judging. Because
Right.
they're gonna write me. They're a level 2 judge, so they're gonna write me a recommendation.
That's right.
Whenever I can pass the test. Anyway, so she was covering top 8. She was like, "You can go home." I was like, "No, I'll just play and play,
I'll
play.
hang out,
Like,
right?
like
Yeah.
we'll just hang out and we'll play some games. I haven't gotten to play." But anyway, so Apple proceeded to beat me 3 times in a row, and he was like, and I was like, well, okay, let me just tell you, you just literally played against the best warrior in the world. Like they just happen to live nearby. Like
Yes.
it has nothing to do with your play style. Like you're a pretty good player. What's funny though is I say that because I wanted to give that example because Apple is in the top 10 best players in the world for Blood Bowl, which is hilarious.
Oh
So
wow. Oh
he's
my
just used
gosh.
to being good at stuff.
Right. I mean,
Like,
that's what it is. Like, I mean, at some point, Flesh and Blood's a hard game to master, and like, I know a
yeah.
lot of it when it comes down to it is like, if somebody has been on that like class, or they have like some innate skill of true patience and pitch stacking, like it ends up being something in which you're like, wow, I have to learn that in order to replicate what they're trying to do, because at some point, right, this is not a game where it's like, oh, the deck I am playing is just so overpowered, I don't need to think. It's just, I don't need to do anything. I just need to send stuff and whatever, they die. Like,
Yep.
that's not Flesh and Blood. Like, there are points in which a pivot turn happens, and if you don't pivot at the right time, you
Yes.
lose your end game, and you effectively just, you throw it all away. So
One
It
of the things
is
I've been
nice.
appreciative about Sage, and I was talking to a local about this last
Uh-huh.
night, was the fact that while Sage is really fast, and I know people have comments with hero formats. I hear you. I did too. Like I've
Hmm.
always been kind of a Blitz hater. Like, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it was just it was too overpowered and limited was the only way to play a hero format. And now with this, that's a better way to play. Uh, but one of the things that I appreciate with Sage is like, for instance, you played on Jarl.
Hmm.
In those games, sometimes it's hard to every little decision can have incremental um, can affect like future turns
Uh-huh.
incrementally, right? And sometimes it's hard to pinpoint down like, oh, that was the mistake I made just because
Uh-huh.
the games are so long. With Sage, it's a lot easier. I feel like it's easier to get better at the game because it's very easy to be like, that's the thing I did wrong. Because most
Yep.
of the time it's just like one, maybe two mistakes
Hmm.
that leaves you your game. Like two mistakes, you're probably losing
Yeah.
at that point. But it's just like one, like I didn't block here. I should have blocked with this card. Or like this is a potential right here. And so one of the things I've begun to appreciate with Sage is I think it will help newer players or even just players like me who are mediocre become better faster because there's very specific points in the games I lost last night. There's very specific points I look at that and go, well, number one, there was a turn I did incorrectly near the beginning of like that DGA game. I did incorrectly. I ended up IPing myself too because I
Hmm.
did it wrong with
Right.
Lexi, and with Lexi you can't do it. And so it's like, oh, I played that wrong. Like I can very specifically point at that, and then I can point at the turn I didn't block. If I was playing a longer game, I don't think I would be able to point at those because so many turns happen that it's hard to point like that was the one turn I played wrong. Maybe I could. But so anyways, I said to say like I've become to appreciate Sage as even a better learning tool
Yeah.
than say CC because you can number one you can jam a bunch of games
Yep.
and figure out the matchups a little bit better. Number two, it becomes very pointed of like this is the one or two mistakes I made that game. That's why I lost. Like if I'd done
Exactly.
this a little bit different, so I appreciate that. But let's talk meta because we're talking a little bit of ProQuest and how wide. One of the things I'm noticing, and I had this discussion a little bit last night because I was like,
Uh-huh.
"Oh, the meta's really wide," and someone's like, "No, it's not." Like, look at this chart. Briar's like almost half of it,
Right.
right? Like, or a third of it. It's like it's a huge amount of
Briar's
Briar wins
Briar's
on the
quite
ProQuest.
literally, if there are, hold on, I should actually get like a total out here. Let me get, because I wanted to say there were 100 events listed here, or more than
Hmm.
100. So let's see. So 50 plus 40 plus 16 plus 13 plus 160 Silver Age events occurred over the course of that one weekend. And if we divide that by 50,
Yeah, so like a third
yeah,
basically.
so three, yeah, like a third of the pie chart is Briar, right?
Yeah.
Like roughly
So
about 3.2 or 3.3,
yeah.
or yeah. So
Yeah. So we look at that and go like, oh, the meta isn't wide. But I look at like the reason why I wanted to talk a little bit about my local one, while it was only 17 players, which some of these ones are only going to be that amount, right? Like
right,
it's only going to be roughly that. Some of them might be way larger, but on the local level, like you're probably going to get around that. Is this people? A lot of people, unless they're spikes, like you get Nathan Crawford coming in with Briar. He was on Briar. Joshua
mm-hmm.
obviously was on Decimator Dory because he's going to play Warrior every time. Nathan also really likes Briar. Like I'm not saying that he came in and he's
Right,
not bringing his favorite hero.
notable Runeblade enjoyer Nathan Crawford.
Yeah.
Yes,
So like I said like it wasn't a surprise. Like that's his favorite, but
right,
also, it's the best. It's the best deck right now. I think what I'm finding is this because I had a couple people being like, I don't want to go to NOLA this weekend because they have their Silver Age and like I don't want to go into that meta. And
right,
I get it. But what I think what's happening and why I feel like Briar is probably still going to be so high on it is people are bringing a wide range of decks. Like in general, people are bringing wide range of decks because they're like, hey, I don't get to play this one in CC anymore. Like maybe
right.
the LL, that's the favorite. Like I'm always playing Lexi because
Uh huh.
I love Lexi. I have bad matchups. I have a terrible matchup into Brute. I'm still struggling to figure out how I win that. Like there's just matchups in there that I have terrible matchups into. But
Yeah.
I would, if I was to go to an event, I would bring Lexi. Is she the best? Absolutely not. Could I maybe win? Maybe. Like she can go. Her ceiling's crazy high,
Right.
right? If I'm lucky enough, I can win. But like I'm going to bring that. And so what I'm seeing here is less of like, oh, Briar's only winning, and more of like people are bringing the wide range because that's what they enjoy. And so if you come in to counter Briar, you're going to get hit by those other decks that someone just happened to bring a Scurv that is probably really good against some of these Briar counters. Probably
Hmm.
not. But like that's my point is like you're going to get these stuff that come in that's like, hey, I'm just going to beat these ultims and stuff that are coming in to beat Briar because DGA is a thing, and you'll have a couple DGAs show up that'll just punish those ones that come in to counter Briar, and then they get countered by someone bringing in number one a meta deck like a DGA, or number two just like a random Lexi deck that snapshots off and destroys you, and
Right.
you weren't even targeting them. And so that's I think what we're seeing here is that people are bringing their pet decks, their fun decks, whatever. Then we got people that are bringing the best decks, and it's just when you're coming in, those fun decks are wiping out the stuff countering Briar because they can, and then Briar's countering them and just absolutely destroying them and winning the event. Like if I look at that right there, based off of my one thing I judge, I think that's kind of what's happening here in these events.
Hmm. Yeah, I would say, I mean, obviously you have a lot more personal experience doing the judging. I know that 50 wins on Briar, though, is either one of a couple things. Either A, it's just one of the most represented decks in the meta right now. And so people are seeing the results of Briar through several means. And so therefore they are deciding to play that. Of course, we take a look at the results of the previous 4 tier 3 events that have occurred, the callings and the showdowns. And Kano has won 3 out of the 4 of them. So
Yep.
you
Kano's a hard hero, though. That's probably not going to win a local ProQuest unless you are a Kano person.
well, exactly, right? And that's the thing, though, is like that's Kano is the 4th most winning hero on this list because there are people who just love Kano, like they
Yeah.
absolutely adore Kano and how Kano plays and everything of sort there. That's not to say Kano is overpowered. Kano obviously is a very skill intensive deck, and because of that, it's capable of winning, but you have to have a certain amount of patience and skill of double pitch stacking and all this stuff to kind of really get the idea behind it. But Briar, like, there are
I'm not going to say
intricacies.
Briar plays herself, but she kind of she's the
She
most like she
definitely
just kind of
plays
plays out.
herself. Like, I think
Like,
it's really just like, I mean, sending a bunch of damage is one thing, right? But I also think, again, what Briar has that only one other Runeblade has and doesn't do it as well is Burn Up Shock. And I
right.
think collectively we can all say that Burn Up Shock is a very egregious card that says ping your opponent for 1. They're not going to pay the AB,
Mm-hmm.
so you're obviously going to kill them for 1. Because most people aren't even running AB into Briar anymore, because why would you, right? Physical damage is
Yep.
obvious. You want to block out the Burn Up Shock hits. So
Yep.
when a Burn Up Shock comes out, and then your opponent proceeds to send 4, 4, 4, 4, and then 7, because it's, or 4 and, pump it to 7 with a lightning press. And also they get an on hit with their weapon. So when they swing Starfall, it comes in for 2, and then it's like, okay, you have to give me 1 or you're going to take 6. Like, that's a lot of life total. And I think that ends up being something that is far too oppressive for, I think it obviously would not be oppressive, or as oppressive, I should say, if the D reacts that we are seeing pretty frequently were 0 cost, right?
Right.
Having to pay 1 for a Steel Blade Shunt into a 7 power attack because it's coming in for 7 because, or even 10 because, Briar pumped it to 10 and then gave it go again. Like, you have to pay a resource for that, which means that's a card in your hand that you can't block with now.
Yeah.
And you're hoping that it's enough to send over and block out the rest of that damage. But I just think Briar has quite a large amount of just the aggro numbers are really good. And it's hard to your point, right? Of like, okay, like, what do we, people who are playing a counter to Briar are being blown out by these other heroes. I guess I'd have to ask is, what would you consider a counter to Briar that isn't win the die roll another aggro deck?
I mean, we've seen Oldhim kind of hit it. I think Oldhim does pretty well. Block slop, they can kind of handle it decently. Because they can play the fatigue game and they will fatigue out Briar. Once
Uh-huh.
again, though, if Briar just has the nuts and you don't, she just wins.
Right.
Like I think that's what we're seeing. Like when you have DGA, for instance, Briar really can blow out DGA
Yeah.
pretty well
Yeah.
because of the way it has to go. And it's not even like they could just do it without burn up shock. Like if I've had games where they don't even play burn up shock at one turn and they blow me up just from the aggressive nature of it.
Yeah.
But so I look at that and it's like, okay, well, you could do that. And I think Oldhim can handle it and can do it. But once again, if they just Briar, like we talked about mistakes earlier, and I kind of want to talk about a little bit about this. Yeah, Briar sometimes can brick. That's few and far between. They usually can just be like, all right, I'm going to block out this turn, and then I'm going to come back at you for 16. So
Uh-huh.
here I block 10 damage that you sent to me. Okay, fine. I take 4 or 5, whatever, and then I'm going to blow you up next turn.
Right.
Like, there's still a lot of stuff in Briar that she's just too consistent and versatile. Even without burn up shock, I think she still wins. I just think without burn up shock, it does make it harder for her to win against the block slop.
Yeah.
Because that's already a hard matchup. The block slop is a hard matchup.
Yeah,
Sometimes you
block
do
stop
get
block stop is hard, and like that additional point of damage through burn up, like if you leak 1 point of damage, it's like, okay, I'm hitting for 5 instead of hitting for 1. Like that's a pretty big I mean, it's a fourth of your life total that's going to get hit.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, the benefit is that block slop also plays a bunch of healing things, right? So Sirens of Safe Harbor. You know, if you're playing an Elemental Guardian, you're playing freaking Fruits of the Forest or whatever to heal yourself there too. And I mean, yeah, I think that does make block slop pretty well, but I think the other benefit of that is that the thing that's also keeping block slop down, and you'll see right in that same graphic, the only guardian or the only 2 guardians that made it to that area was a 1 Terra made 1 win. And then we have Bravo Flattering Showman made 5. And we know that Bravo isn't exactly a block slop deck, more so an aggressive like combo setup deck. And then Oldhim at 3 wins. So what that's also telling me, because not only is Briar really popular, but Decimator Great Axe is really popular.
Yes.
And Decimator Great Axe blows up any other fatigue deck. Like if you are even thinking about running 4 blocks in your deck, you're done for. Like it's just not the same effect. And so I think that with that being the case, Briars will beat DGA. DGA can sometimes beat Briar. If you're obviously brick like twice in a row, it's like, okay, right, you just kind of die.
Yeah.
But that's Runeblade, right? I think the thing is that sure, variance can kill you, but Briar's variance is so incredibly low that you're not due to be like, okay, this hand can't function. Next hand, this hand also can't function. Next hand, all right, I'm at 2 life. This hand also can't function. Like at that point, it's down to deck building, right? Your deck building was poor. You didn't make a good enough choice in your, or you didn't shuffle correct. I don't know, like whatever it might have been. But this is something in which you don't normally see with Briar because of the consistency. You're running half and half in a way to make sure that you're always getting 2 of each and able to pump something to 10, give it go again, and then send out another 4 or 7 if you have like a lightning press. So the capability is there, and Decimator Great Axe can beat that, but you have to hope that Briar doesn't have it, and you have to keep tempo. And if your hand turns out to be 3 Steelblade Shunt and Sharpened Steel, you're like, okay, I can't do anything here. Like this isn't going to be enough damage for them to care. They're going to take, if it's a blue Sharpened Steel, you play blue Sharpened Steel, you pitch, send Decimator Great Axe for 5, and they go, okay, cool, I'll take 5 and kill you. And that's the turnaround, right? Your opponent has to have it. And I think that's where, we even see KO, right? We haven't even talked really about KO. KO getting 10 less wins than Briar over the course of this weekend.
Well, I think KO, he was number 2. What I've been seeing with KO is that KO does really good across the field, except Briar.
I mean, I would think, I would believe that's correct because obviously they're playing no blocks, right? So if Briar catches them, again, I think that's really what it comes down to.
According, and I'll take Flat Blazing with a grain of salt, but
Yeah.
according to Fab Blazing, I think it's like a 33%. I think it's like a 33 to 77. Like KO
Hmm.
only wins 33% of the time against Breyer, and he only wins close to that if he's going second.
Right.
Classic,
Yeah.
classic matchup in there. But like he is not good. He cannot outdo Breyer. He outdoes a lot of other ones.
Yeah,
He
and
just cannot do
I
Breyer.
think he's capable of beating Briar. I mean, the damage potential is really high, and Briar can't block like that. Like Briar's running, maybe they're running Sigil of Suffering and they're able to ping and try to kill you off that. But I mean, most KOs are sending somewhere upwards of like 15 to 17 points of
They can't
damage a turn.
the main thing is they can't outrace Breyer. Breyer just outraces them. Like their
Right,
turnover turn
which is why it's such
just
a die
outdoes
roll,
them.
right? It's why it's such a die roll
Yes.
kind of match, which that's been aggro for like a really long time. But I think the reason you play KO over Briar is because guess what also beats the hell out of Briar if you lose a die roll? Kano. Kano can just blow you up. Like you're playing all reds. You're not. Did you draw into an arcane polarity in your first two hands? No, you're dead. Like you just cannot beat out that damage that Kano can do. And the best part about KO is that you have a floating 3 spell void at like all times just to be like, okay, cool. I'm going to continue with my turn.
His matchup spread against the top decks are great, except against Briar.
Right. And
Not
honestly,
he can't pull it off, but like percentage wise,
right,
it's a lot lower. Like I say this to be like, we're talking about percentages and things like that.
Right.
But like at the end of the day, a lot of times, especially in this game, it's like the better player is probably going to win.
Yes.
Like that's the reality of it. There are just some really bad matchups. I just talked about how with Lexi, like I feel like I am probably better than most brutes on Talishar.
Right.
On my Lexi. Like but I've been testing into brutes and their power level is just so high. It's really like unless I get lucky, I cannot keep up. Even when I'm giving them ice, I cannot keep up with their damage output. Right. It's just a really struggle. They have a big fridge. They got a lot going for them. I don't have a fridge at all. Like I've gotten to the point where my head slot is now Blade Beckoner because I cannot afford to have, put a card back in my hand because I need that couple extra block in there because the fridge is there.
Exactly.
Fridges are so big, and so like I'm not shitting on KO at all. Like I think KO is a fantastic deck. I think it's a really good. I mean, I told you, we have a new player started a couple of weeks ago. They went 1-2 against players who have been playing this game for a while, a couple of years. They went 1-2 on the pre-con.
Yep.
Like it wasn't even just something that somebody built. It was the pre-con, which is not as good as like a fully tuned deck. Like I've seen the pre-con, I've seen the fully tuned deck. The fully tuned deck is obviously better. And they went 1-2 on it, playing for a couple of weeks. Like KO is in a great spot. I'm not denying that. I think the numbers show it. He won a ton. But kind of to your point, like so one obviously everyone thinks Burn Up Shock is gonna go, but another card that's probably on the chopping block, which I'm sure I don't know why it's not on there. I don't love that it is, but I get it, is Snatch. Like I think Snatch might be on the chopping block too on there. And the reason being is because Briar is really the only one that can give it go again, but she does it so consistently.
Yeah, I mean, well, I think Snatch in general, like giving it go again is rough, right? But again, to your same point, if it really is to the point where it's like Snatch is the one card that's causing the biggest issue, like Block Slop can block Snatch pretty well.
Yeah, it can.
That is pretty capable of doing it. I think even DGA Warrior is capable of blocking it out pretty well.
Yeah. Well, I think the biggest thing is the fact that it gets go again, and then Briar is one of 2 or 3 decks that can give it go again, or that can lightning press, right? Like it's that and so people are like, well, if Snatch doesn't go, then maybe lightning press has to get hit, and it's like you can't I don't think you can hit lightning press legitimately without completely destroying lightning, period.
Right. And if that's like ends up being the case, right? Obviously lightning takes a huge hit, but I think this also goes to show that like overall whatever, because I don't think lightning press is an issue either. I think lightning press is fine.
I don't think it is.
I genuinely just think that
Snatch is kind of fine. I get why people are mad about it.
Yeah.
And the fact that Briar can give it go again really opens up the door. I'm also, I've been around for a while, right? We had I can think of the art, the one that +3 out of Arsenal, and the next
Oh,
card
Plunder
hits, you
Run.
get to draw a card. Plunder Run,
Yep.
thank you.
Good
Plunder
card.
Run, like I've been
Good card.
around Plunder Run and stuff, like so. Like I look at Snatch and go, like this is a problem. Like I literally built a budget Briar deck with Plunder Runs, and we're destroying people with hundreds of dollars of in CC. Like,
Yeah.
and I was making uh, four, like 4 or 5 uh embodiments of Earth,
Oh
to
yeah.
block out people.
The
Like,
before
I
errata.
have seen
It's
degeneracy on another level.
exactly.
Like when I look at this, I go like, this is fine.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot more tuned down to be it, and it's funny, like out of everything, right? Regarding like just the format itself, because I was curious on people's like thoughts on the event entirely, or like the Silver Age, and we're getting we're getting a lot of people who like initially they start out playing it and they're just like, I don't know really if I'm going to be in love with this. I don't really love young hero formats and so on and so forth. And I'm not going to lie, Twitter is like absolutely on a tirade of like hate for Silver Age. And by Twitter, I mean like the 4 posts that I've seen on Twitter.
I was gonna
Um,
say this is
it's
why you don't go on Twitter.
exactly.
Twitter's just
Twitter
hate in
is
general.
genuinely just full of really hateful individuals. But BlueSky and even in our local Discord, I mean, I saw a post from a local player who, notably, really big Silver Age hater initially, like really big. And after playing a few games and going to some armories, he's turned around and he's said he's actually kind of enjoying the format and what it is. And like obviously things need to be changed. He's very happy with how the ban list is being like monitored and checked in on that. And hopefully we see other cards hit the ban list or even things removed from the ban list moving into the next season after the ProQuest here. But I think it is. I think the format's doing pretty well for what it's supposed to be, and I think that a lot of people are really enjoying it because they get to play heroes they love. I mean, there was again, we had another Silver Age hater who initially was just like, "This is not going to be the format for me," and then they were like, "Oh, wait a minute, I can play Enigma and Kano, two of my favorite heroes." Like, yeah, absolutely, I'm going to play it.
Absolutely.
And they proceeded to do so, and they're in love with the format now. We had somebody who's a big illusionist hater played Enigma at a Sage Armory and went, "Oh, this was actually really fun. I really enjoyed that," and ended up winning the Armory. Like, it was.
Yep.
There's a lot to be said about the format in which it's definitely very skill expressive, and it is a test of your skill as a player, more so than it is this deck is a meta pick, right? Obviously, if you are a good player
100%.
and you have a good deck, that's a different thing. But if you're a good player and you have like a mediocre deck, odds are you could probably do pretty well. I mean, you take a look at I don't know how she did it, but Mara Ferris won a ProQuest on Dromai. And
yeah,
I still don't know how she would have done it because I'm looking at Dromai and I'm just like, she got Haboob. That card is bad. I don't like that card at all. But it might be the choice because if it's like, okay, cool, you're not going to worry about getting your stuff popped if you're playing into a Brute specifically. If you never pair into a Guardian because DGA kills all the Guardian, you get to kill DGA and you get to kill Briar and you get to kill Brute. Like, odds are you're probably okay.
I was watching someone. They must have been running her list. I played against someone this past couple days on my Alexi deck, and in the past it was, I'm just going to ignore dragons. Maybe I'll hit a couple of them, and I will absolutely win no matter what.
Yep.
I was struggling in that matchup. Like, their deck lists have gotten better. There's more going on in it than I think. I did notice they were running Haboob, and I was like, well, that's weird. That would make sense if it was a Mara list. And they just used it for block. They didn't actually use it for anything else.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, it's like it's a red starter that says, all right, for this turn and this turn alone, you're not going to be able to pop my stuff if you only have 6s in your hand. Like,
yeah,
sure, right?
That's what you
whatever. But it's not. But I think it only comes into very specific matchups. Right? I don't think it comes into Guardian because it doesn't matter, and I only think it comes into Brute because that's what you want in that scenario. But I think that with there being so many different, I mean, 3 Dromai won this past weekend, so obviously somebody else out there is also
there.
But it's there are enough people who are winning on these decks, but I think we also have to consider the fact that like some of these ProQuests were probably like 6 people, right? Or
Right.
like 8 people
Yeah.
or something. So
I
it's
think it has to be 8 to
yeah.
trigger.
So you can't be like this is a meta pick when like
Yeah.
7 of the 8 people didn't bring Briar and one person did, and that person won
Yeah.
because they decided to bring Briar. Or if it's like everybody brought something weird and then like Decimator Great Axe Olympia won instead because that's what was there at the time.
Yep.
So I think it can be. I think obviously from taking a look just at the results alone, we are seeing that it is a very Briar centric thing. There, you should not ever expect to not see Briar at your
Yeah.
local meta. You should just always expect
Well,
to see it.
and I think the main issue that, because I look at that and go like, okay, everybody, for this next week, bring your, counter pick to Briar, but
Right.
to your, what I keep talking about and what I'm trying to hit on is like, I don't know what you bring your favorite deck, really. If it does it do decent against Briar, cool. Because at the end of the day, like when I see Briar when I'm on Lex, I'm like, cool. If I don't see an ice card, I die.
Right.
Like Sir Rabbit and I, we did best of 3. He went first, then I went first, then he went first. No, I went first, then he went first, then I went first.
Uh-huh.
Whoever went first lost, but they were every single one was such a close game. It just like my cards, like the last game, I went first, and I almost got him because I did a couple snapshots and then I had a good arrow, and the card I drew up was all I needed was just another. I did the arrow with go again. All I needed was just like a Skizik, for
Right.
instance. Like it just needed something simple. I drew a nice card to take a card from his hand. He had already kind of went to blocking. I was like, God damn it.
Yeah.
And like I lost because of my draw. Like the ice card just showed up in the
Yep.
wrong spot. And if I just had a damage card, I would have won. Like
Yeah, and
that's all I needed.
I think variance is still such a real thing in the format, and I think that is something that some people love, some people hate. I understand that like that is when people say formats are swingy, like a format like this is swingy. That's what they mean is that variance can just say you can draw 4 cards, and those 3 of those 4 cards can be bad, and 1 card can be good, and you can go, all right, this doesn't convert to anything, unfortunately, because I needed a ice card instead of a earth card. And now I have to just play this game awkwardly. You lose tempo, and you have to wait for your opponent to then do the same thing in which they brick. But if their opponent never bricks, then you lose, right?
Yep.
So
Yep.
I think that's where a lot of people's distaste with the format is that it is just variance and tempo don't get to go back and forth as much as they do in Classic Constructed. It's very much so, this is it. Am I sending 10 dominate every single turn at you and you can never stop that? You will die. If I'm sending, 16 points of damage at you with a threatening on hit of 4 more damage every single turn, eventually you're just going to end up taking the loss and moving on to the next one. But the best part is that it's not always the same game. Right.
It's not.
So.
And kind of to finish off that point, you might go like, well, why did you die? Well, he blocked out. We were both 1-1, and he didn't have Sigil of Suffering, and I gave him another turn to get Sigil of Suffering, which he did the next turn, and I was out of AB. So, like, that's what I mean, like, in the variance, because, like, well, how did you die? He dropped all his cards. He didn't have Sigil, and I just needed 1 point of damage because he blocked out. Like, that's it. And he got Sigil next turn, and what do you know what happened?
Yep.
Like, and so that's, we look at that, and it's so like I say that to say like the games were close. Like it's not an auto win just because one person went first in the aggro matchup. Like they are close. There's a lot of stuff going on in there. Your deck building, all of that sort of thing. But anyways, like so when I look at this meta, I think where I go is like, hey, bring KO and see if you can get through the Briars. Like I feel like that's probably the better one.
Yeah.
Or if you're good at Kano, like bring Kano. If you're decent at Kano, bring him and see if you can get through them. Like that's what I look at when I see this. Is if you're trying to like kind of meta pick. If you don't want to bring Briar, like if you are a Briar stand, go bring Briar. It's going to give you the best shot. But if you're trying to counter the meta, like I feel like those are your 2 picks to do it. Because like. I saw a couple of Enigmas, and they just got absolutely trounced this past weekend. I don't know how good of Enigma players they were, but like I think Enigma is fine
Yeah.
in there. I just unless you're like a crazy good Enigma player, Enigma is probably not going to do well in a ProQuest.
Yeah, she's another difficult hero. I mean, that is both Kano and Enigma are two heroes that you can bring and do very well in, but you need to have been playing Flesh and Blood for a while, and you need to at least understand the intricacies of your matchups when you
Yes,
go into them, because you
a
can't.
lot of it
It's
is
not just send a bunch of damage and pass.
yes,
It's when do I, do I play my instant speed auras after my opponent has sent this amount of
yes,
damage or before in order to block it out? Do I get a backup spectral shield if I'm trying to do like there's a whole lot of thought process into doing
whole
it.
lot of thought.
So I do think that there is obviously a lot of these decks come down to skill expression. And I feel like that is something that that's that's something that I'm also seeing a lot of like professional players talk about is how much their skill is tested in these formats. Because it's not
Because
just
it's one mistake and it's over.
exactly. You have to be thinking this is the pinnacle point of Flesh and Blood is you are at 20 life, which would have been half your life if you were playing Classic Constructed, and every point of damage from this point on matters. And you're instead of you going into a 20 life format and then your 40 health hero getting down to 20 life and then going, okay, my opponent's deck is full of low power cards because they have been pitching a bunch of blues and their blues don't really do a whole lot in this scenario. In this, it's like, okay, we're at full power, but now you're at 20 life. This is effectively like, did my opponent pitch stack properly? The format. It's like, cool. Now your opponent has all this stuff stuck together, and it's like, cool. Okay, now we get to send the power into each other and see how it plays out. And I think that's really cool because it does make you think at a level that you probably were not previously in Classic Constructed. You're sure, I'll take 9, whatever. I'll send this, I'll send that. We'll go back and forth. And then eventually at some point you have to make the decision of this turn's going to kill me if I don't do something. I have to pivot. The pivot is already there effectively in Sage. You just have to go, can I do this better than you with the cards that I have in my deck? And that's what it's all about. So yeah, it's fun.
It's fun. And I think the biggest thing for it, obviously, is the fact of the games, while you have 35 minutes to play them, most of the time are 10 or 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Like in that 35 minutes, I have literally sat down with an opponent and we'll play, and then we're like, oh, other people are still playing. Let's play another game just for fun. Like that happens all the time where you can literally do a best of 3 game in that 35 minutes if you're both playing aggro or mid-range deck. It's different if I'm playing Fatigue, right? But even so, Fatigue, I can still play it in 35 minutes. Like Fatigue doesn't usually go past 35 minutes. I mean, it can't obviously in the rounds, but in the top 8. And that's another thing I do want to just call out. So when I judge, I've judged several events. This is my second ProQuest in the past few months, to just say the least. But I've been doing judging for years now. I'm usually there till like 10 or 11 o'clock at night.
Right.
Like, and we usually start at 11. Like, I'm usually there for 12 hours.
Right.
We were there for 5.5, I think, like 6 tops.
Yeah.
We went out to dinner afterwards.
So
we
cool.
finished it and we went out to dinner. And I had my 9-year-old with me, and I was like, we're going to go out to dinner with some of the people. Like, we were able to get through. And like I said, I didn't have to do the top 8 because we had a head judge. But if I did have to do the top 8, it wouldn't be a big deal, right? I could just sit there, whatever. And anyways, I said this would be like under 6 hours.
Right.
We did 5 rounds of Swiss and cut to top 8. We didn't take breaks in there. Most of the rounds were done at like 10 minutes till. There was only a couple rounds. There was like one round, I think, that went a little over. And that's because I ran a deck check and it happened to be Josh Lau, who is running DGA. That is going to be a longer game.
Exactly.
And so they went overtime because they had an extension of like 10 minutes. Like, that's when you do deck checks, you have about 10 minutes. So most of the time extensions are about 10 minutes. And so like, or like 8 or 9 minutes, but like the most we had was I think like a 40 minutes with that and around. Most of the time we're done in 25 minutes.
Yep.
And we just go, cool, everyone's done. Let's start the next round.
It's perfect. I mean, that's really it. I mean, we
on a local level, I'm just like, I know people don't love it as much, or they might not. But like from my standpoint, that is the perfect tournament size right there of like 6 hours.
I mean, it's great. I mean, even just like, considering armories, usually what we do on Mondays for armories is like we get in and it's like, okay, we have to get everybody else set up. CC starts at like 6:30 and our TO is like the store closes at 8 and our TO would like to get home in a reasonable hour. And if there's enough people there, it's like 4 rounds. And so we're like, okay,
we would always do 3. We cut it short every time.
So and that's the thing. We've been doing 3 only because everybody's always just like 4th round, let's just split the undefeateds, right? Like, and undefeateds are always just like, yeah, sure, I'm down to split. Like, I don't care, because the thing is that we get store credit for the winner, and it's based on it's 100% of the entry fee goes into the store credit. So if you have 20 people there and all of them pay $10 a piece, it's a $200 prize pool. So it is like, sometimes people are like, yeah, you know what, actually, I kind of would like to, knowing what their matchup is, sometimes they're like, sure. And it's not the end of the world, right, if we have to do another one. But the TO gets the final call, and usually the TO is just like, hey, if it's early enough and everybody's on some cool aggro deck that is done within time, sure. But with Silver Age, you get to do exactly that, right? You don't have to worry about being like, okay, well, maybe we cut the 3rd round or cut the 4th round because I want to go home, do all this. Like, if it was Silver Age instead and you had 20 people for a Silver Age event, that's done by 8. Like, you're good.
We started at 7. We did 3 rounds. We had a definitive. This person is that there's 8. It was calling for 4, but we're like, we're only doing 3.
Right.
And we got in just before 7. We started a little after 7. We were done before 9 o'clock. I think I left there at like 9. I got home at like 10:15, 10:20 last night. I'm usually home at 11:30. Like, my wife was like, "You're home so early," and I was like, "I mean, we did, like, we played, we had fun. I still hung out afterwards, and we were all out before like 9:15 or something. Like, like it was 2 hours, and that's with us chilling, like not rushing games and just kind of chilling and enjoying the company and not trying to rush it. Like, and we usually do draft on our casual night, so we drop you drop the drafting portion, which is usually, honestly, like, between drafting and building your deck, it's probably close to an hour. So you drop that portion out, and then we do 3 rounds. Like, we just went and had fun. But like the tournament itself, I was just like, we did 5 rounds of Swiss in top 8, and it was like 5.5 hours.
Which
like,
is
we
great.
started at 1 o'clock, and we were out by like 6. And we were like, cool. a little after 6.
It ends up working out pretty good for everybody's schedule too. So, like, I mean, I think at the end of the day, it's going to be something that I think a lot of people were seeing on a regular basis initially go from Silver Age hater, I don't know how I feel about this. This is probably just going to be Blitz 2.0. I didn't really like Blitz because it was too swingy and blah, 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 to getting into the game and being like, oh, man. The funny thing is that a lot of the people who also said they didn't like Blitz are people who just did not play Blitz. Like, they were never playing Blitz.
I played Blitz. I didn't like Blitz.
Oh, for sure. But... And I'm not saying everybody, but like, I know a decent amount of people who did not play Blitz like regularly. Yeah. And, I know that we've had several content creators who've spoken about it, how like Blitz is a pretty good indicator of like your skill level, right, into Flesh and Blood. Yeah. And the same thing translates here to Silver Age, except A, you don't have to spend a ton of money to play the game, and B, the games are just as quick and if not more skill intensive, because now you're dealing with less power cards. So it's like,
yes,
okay, cool. Like, did I, the amount of power cards available in the format is nowhere near as high. So you have to change your deck around to fit your own local meta. You have to make changes based on the general populace and in what you can play into, what you can't. And I think it's just awesome. So I'm very thankful for the format
too. Yeah, and I think too, like we just talked about time-wise, like we're talking, there's people who are going to go to NOLA this coming Saturday. Like, there was a couple people that are on the fence, but they're after this event, they're like, oh, I'll probably go.
Yeah.
And we had people from Jacksonville. It's a 5-hour drive. They got home in time for bed.
Yep.
Like, they did it, and I think they did it one day. I think they just left early. They played for a few hours, and then they
I
And
mean,
it
that's how it's
started
going
at
to be
1, so
for
they probably
us.
left at like 8 or whatever.
I think it's like a, I don't know, like a 3.5 hour drive from here to Wyoming. And so like we're gonna get there. It's gonna start at like 11, and then it's
Yeah,
just gonna be like, oh, we're done. Okay,
yeah, you'll be done by like
let's
four
go get
o'clock, and
dinner.
then just get
Yeah.
dinner and go home and
Yep.
be home at a decent hour.
Exactly.
Like I see these events now, and especially after judging and kind of seeing that, I'm like, I'm glad they did this, and I think they need to lean more into this. Sure, it's not as like whatever SCC, like it's not like the echelon that
Uh huh.
people want, but for these smaller local events, I want them to definitely lean more into it because they're so fast, they're really fun, people enjoy the format, um, and like and on top of that, like you could travel for them way easier. Like I
Mm-hmm.
will travel 3-4 hours for some of these events if I know I'm going to be back at a decent hour. I don't have to get a hotel room on my way home, or I'm not
Exactly.
getting home at like 2 o'clock in the morning. Like I've seen people
Exactly.
do that, and you're like, well, I'll show. I think we, like I said, normally we have a little over 20, like 24 players. This time we had 17. I really think we had 17 just because it was Silver Age. But I think we're going to see more people willing to travel for Silver Age just on the mere fact of I can be back in the same day.
Yeah.
I could go further and be back in the same day and have fun.
Yep.
I have known people that have talked about, oh, I'm not going to travel for Silver Age because of blah, 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 blah. But I do think we will start seeing more of that if they start leaning more into that
Mm-hmm.
just because of that time frame.
I agree. Yeah. It's just, I mean,
I can do an 8 hour day and be back in time. Like I can go to
it's
NOLA and
better
be
for
12 hours.
it's better for everybody just in that scenario. And I do think that like, I'm fine with them being at the competitive level for like a PQ or for
Yes.
the battlegrounds that are happening are I think all going to be Silver Age, if I recall.
Mhm.
So that's
Yes.
also pretty cool to see. But I think where a lot of people's gripes with Silver Age is that you shouldn't be playing it in the Pro Tour or the World Championship or anything of the sort there.
We
Um,
played Blitz in the World Championship. Like,
yeah, and then they got rid of that, right? Like
yeah.
I think
But I
it's
think they're gonna. We're used to seeing kind of dual formats. Like
yeah,
it's totally fine. Like
yeah. I think it's fine. I mean, honestly, I prefer it to
I
stay
will
at a
say,
more local level.
I think Sage is more competitive than LL was. Just gonna say that.
I would agree. I mean, to be fair though, I don't know that LL got enough time
It didn't.
to
It didn't.
be
And I
better.
agree with you. And I loved LL. Like, don't get me wrong. I love LL. I am
Uh-huh.
not an LL hater at all. I have been pro LL for a long time. I
Right.
love playing Lexi.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I love playing my snapshot Lexi lightning ball build. Like, I love LL.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think on a competitive level, it makes sense. And on a pro tour level, I think it's fine, especially if it replaces draft. Once again, I'm a huge limited player. I
Yeah.
just think sometimes draft takes too long. And so if we do more of these kind of dual stuff, I think doing Sage and CC together
Mm-hmm.
feels fine
I also think
because
that
it does
that's the
kind of
other
cut down
thing
on time.
with draft is that draft also tends to be the portion that people tune out of because
Yeah.
it often is like several, like an hour of like deck building and drafting and going through the process, and then eventually it gets down to the gameplay, and it's just like the same three heroes going against each other several times. Whereas
Yeah.
with Silver Age, you have constructed decks, and those constructed decks will go into each other. So I think it'll be a fun time. I think obviously it's just like the gripes that people I'm seeing are like, oh, I don't
Yes.
I don't
Yeah.
want
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
I don't want
I
to I
wasn't
don't
saying
want
you're
to
saying that.
yeah, I just want like people are saying I don't want to competitively play Sage. They want to competitively casually play Sage. And I
Yeah.
think you get to
What?
do that more at like ProQuest and RTNs and
Yes.
battlegrounds and armories and stuff like that, as opposed to it or even skirmishes. But when it comes to the big tier 4 events, the Pro Tour,
Yeah.
the national the national championships, the world championship, I feel like a lot of people don't want a format like that because while it's skill expressive, I think maybe it's just not a thing they want to put
Yeah.
into their
Well, you
their
just
training
it's
repertoire.
it's fun seeing the power cards and things like that.
Yeah,
Like let's be real. Like it's fun seeing your CNCs and
yeah,
all those fun, powerful assassin cards that are ripping cards out of their deck and things like that. Like
right.
that is fun to watch. I think Fab in general is a really watchable game. I think it's more watch. I think it's probably one of the most watchable games out there. Like Magic. is really hard to watch to
Mhm.
kind of understand what's going on. Pokemon, fairly straightforward, a lot easier to watch when you kind of know what's going on. But I think Fab, just with the back and forth of like I attack, you block, I react, you react, like it's very like easy to follow
Yeah.
what's going on. Anyways, I said to say like it's fun to see like those powerful cards that are doing more than just attacking and blocking, whereas Silver Age is very much attacking and blocking. And I do hope, kind of one of the things I hope for the format in the future is for there to get more, not necessarily majestic level power, but just kind of more tricksy power in there,
Yeah.
like more like, which we saw a little bit in Pen, like just like very specific things. I think they're almost too specific in Pen, right? Like we look at the contract card that takes out the Mystic, the Mystic heroes. They're whatchamacallit.
Which
Anyways, their chi takes out their chi.
could be relevant. I mean, like
It could
with
be relevant, but it's like that's almost like too
yeah,
too like
I
too
think
niche.
it's far too specific, and I think that's, you know, obviously the other thing that people need to realize with Silver Age is that this is season 1 of the
Yes.
format. When we start seeing several seasons later where heroes are benched for like 2 to 3 seasons, and
Yes.
it's a completely different game in that same vein, I think we're going to see a lot of change
Yeah, we only
regarding.
see one hero benched.
Right,
Like
there's only one hero benched
next
right
season is
now.
going to be completely different.
There will be 4 heroes benched next season. One of them won't be Chain, but word is that Chain's going to get hit with some stuff, so we're not sure
Yep.
what that's going to look like. But the thing is that it sounds like they're actually putting effort into the format, they're being LSS. But that's kind of what we need to see, right? Initially,
Yep.
if people are just like, okay, this is just going to be Briar the format, they said the same thing about Chain, and then they bench Chain, and people are like, oh, wait, this is actually kind of fun. And so next season, when they bench 4 different heroes that have been dominating the meta, and people are like, I really didn't like playing into those heroes. So the community voted, and boom, now those heroes are no longer viable for the format. If that ends up being the case, they get pushed out, and we move into the next one. So,
and I mean, I do think we'll absolutely get, you know, Briar's going to get banned. There's no way she doesn't. Like
yeah,
if the community doesn't vote her out, LSS.
well, that's the thing. Briar's either going to get banned or Burn Up Shock and another lightning card is going to get banned, and then it's like, okay, right, then Briar might not be as bad. Yeah, I still think she's quite good. Obviously, being able to make Embodiment of Earths and also Embodiment of Lightnings just like on demand there is pretty good. But well, I mean, again, we'll see, right? I kid you not, a tuned ban list decision in March, which is also before the Pro Tour.
Is it the beginning of?
Yeah, I think it's like March. I think it's like March 2nd. Like literally, because last weekend was the first weekend of ProQuest. This is the second.
Yeah.
And this is also the end of the Silver Age ProQuest season.
Right.
So
they're going to do the ban after ProQuest.
Exactly. So they're going to do the Silver Age ban after this. Yes.
Yeah, which makes total sense, and I'm glad that they are doing that as opposed to doing a banning in the middle of it.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you have to change. Like I heard that it was in March sometime. I was like, okay, cool. I'm glad that it's after ProQuest, just so everybody doesn't get all of a sudden like, oh no, my favorite deck got hit. I can't play it.
Exactly.
So like it makes sense. I'm glad for them. I'm happy to see them do that and go that route. So we'll see. But yeah, for your weekend, play your favorite deck. If it's Briar, play Briar. It's hard to tell you not to play Briar. But
I do think that, and to play at least devil's advocate there, I do think, yes, play your favorite deck, but also play like Briar or KO or Decimator Great Axe. Like those are.
Or Kano. If you know how to Kano, like I think you'll win.
Yes. It's very much so up to your skill. Like obviously Kano and Enigma, those are like specialist decks, right? Is that your specialization? Yes. Perfect. Get in there. You're gonna have a better, skill gap than other players because that's your playstyle, your hero. But if you want something that does pretty good into like a majority of the field, Decimator Great Axe, KO and Briar are all fantastic picks.
Yes.
And it really just comes down to what you think your meta is. I always do this thing where I flip flop and I try to figure out what my local meta is going to look like. I bring whatever I bring, and then like 12 people bring the counter to that. And I go, okay, well, hope I dodge it. But it is what it is. Like I think at the end of the day, we're seeing a shift. This graph might not look like this at the end of of the weekend. This next Monday might look completely different. There might be people who are just absolutely cut off. Because also the other thing is that ProQuest season, these people can't play in another ProQuest. So
Right.
it is it is something to think about in that regard. But I do think that we're still going to see a lot of people playing a lot of these larger events. And I think a lot of people might be skipping their Silver Age ProQuests because they don't want to win there. They want to get LL points on their hero and CC, because if they win a ProQuest in Sage, they don't get to play in the CC ones. So, your turnout might be low. It might not be. It all depends. But I think playing, obviously, the meta looks pretty good. You have a wide enough range of heroes to where if you're a specialist on those heroes, you're probably doing pretty well. But if you're not a specialist and you're just trying to play into the general field of things, any of those five up at the top are usually pretty
top
good.
Three.
So
top three, and then if you can do Kano, like for instance, like Enigma, I can't play Illusionist to save my life, and Kano is a struggle for me. So like if I was playing, obviously I said I was going to play Lexi because that's just my pet deck. But like if I had to choose, if I had to choose one of those ones, I mean, I would say Briar's the easiest.
Yeah.
If you know how to do Brute, sure, go for it. I think a lot of people know how to do Brute. I struggle with Brute. I'm going to be honest.
Really easy, Nathan. It's really easy. The only thing you have to realize is what you're. We can go into this. That's a completely different video.
Yeah, that's a different story.
We got to get going. But like let me tell you, floating 3 Spell Void is the nastiest thing you could ever have, and Kano and Icelander could never stand a chance into you. But regardless, that's going to kind of be it for us today. I gotta start heading on out of here. But as always, like we said, this is the last weekend of ProQuest season. So if you are going to be doing something for your ProQuests, whether it be that you want to just have fun with it, or if you want to play around with a meta deck, go for it, right? Like the options are there for you. If you're really trying to win, then you've probably already done a huge deck dive and like figured out all this other stuff. Like that's your thing. But just remember, at the end of the day, it's a card game. This isn't the end of ProQuest season. We have 2 weeks of CC happening immediately after. So odds are you have your opportunity there as well. But if you're just looking to play some Silver Age and get yourself familiarized with the format and the meta and play it, I think it's always just a fantastic time. So, but yeah. So anyway, thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate your support. Of course, you can find Nathan over at Bold Brew Games, sometimes doing some stuff in regards to live streaming their casual night, as well as doing some Shadowbox art for cards. So always check that stuff out too. I'm not doing anything too crazy on my end outside of talking about the meta for Silver Age, going over some Jarl stuff. We're doing some Market Watch stuff too. So that's all available. Just kind of stay tuned for more things from Common Language Podcast. But anyway, I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day and continue to have fun in the flesh and blood. And we will see you all on the next episode of the Common Language Podcast. Bye, everybody.